All right, good morning, Cochise County, veterans, active duty. How's everybody doing this morning? My name is Michael Zehr, and I'm the moderator of the Cochise County Veterans Facebook group page. If you're not a member, I hope that you'll sign up, look for it on Facebook. That's Cochise County Veterans. Joining me today, excuse me, I'm still a little nervous being in front of the camera and everything. Joining me today is Kathy Goodman, with the Warrior Healing Center. Kathy, thank you for joining me this morning.
You're welcome, and you don't need to be nervous. I didn't even know you hit start, and I'm looking like a doofus on the beginning, so it's all good.
I was like, where's my makeup guy? Yes, I did shave because my granddaughter's birthday, Kaylin, is 7 tomorrow, so I thought in her honor I would shave, so the beard is gone.
Very nice. Happy birthday, Kaylin.
So I got a whole bunch of information that I'd like to get out to everybody. So if you can bear with me here, we'll try and get through this for everybody. So the first thing I want to do is ask Kathy how the Warrior Healing Center came about, how you guys came up with the idea. Please, I'm very interested to know.
I hope we can settle in and everybody get comfortable, because there's actually a lot to talk about, but I'll try to give you the Cliff's Notes version here. So my husband, Tim Kirk, served 25 years in the Air Force.
Yay, Tim.
He had a very interesting, kind of a unique Air Force career, I would say. And towards the end of his career, he was serving in the Pentagon. He was working as a speechwriter for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And as part of that job, he was responsible for writing letters of condolence to the families of the folks who were killed in the Fort Hood incident.
Oh my, that's got to be tough.
And so, yeah, very tough. Tim is brilliant. I know. I'm married to him.
Yeah,
so take this for what it's worth. But honest to God, this man is just, he thinks outside the box. He lives his life according to, right and wrong. And he fights for what's right, even though it's often not the convenient or the popular thing to do. He really believes in his heart he needs to be one of those people that stands up for what's right. And so that's challenging. In all honesty, it's challenging to be married to that. It's because sometimes it's just easier to go with conventional wisdom or go with the public,
right,
with the flow. And so often we find ourselves not going that direction, which is fine. I like it. It's made me grow a lot as a person. I have nothing but respect for him. I think Tim is amazing, and he challenges me on a daily basis, which I love, and that gives us a very solid, good relationship. However, at the time, he was writing those letters of condolence, and that touched him personally. He was doing the research to who these people were so that he knew about them, and wrote individual. It was not a form letter.
Yeah.
It was very good. A lot of work went into that, and it was important to him. And that experience made him feel like, okay, I've been in DC. DC is what it is. It is not free of corruption. There is a lot of not so fabulous things about being at that level and working at that level and seeing in reality what's kind of going on behind the scenes.
Right.
And so he was kind of excited to get out of DC, but he also, he also just felt compelled to go overseas. And so he ended up spending like the last 5 years or so of his career over on the grounds in Afghanistan and Africa.
He's been around.
He's incredibly, as I said, he's brilliant. He speaks the languages. He lived, he was embedded living with folks in the Afghan army in order to better learn the lingo, the street lingo that the military used, and getting to know the people. And then he was part of Afghan Hands, and he was working.
What is that?
It was a program that was set up to help, instead of like being over there. This is bad because I'm totally talking for him and for everybody out there. My background is not military. I have learned all of this from Tim the last few years. My background is medical. Tim, however, has taught me a lot, and this experience here at the Warrior Healing Center has taught me a lot. Afghan Hands was a program where they were working anti-corruption in Afghanistan. So they were working with the good people of Afghanistan, finding out from them where corruption was lying, finding out like where the Taliban existed. And so Tim did a lot of work using language skills and using media over there to reach the people and to build good, positive relationships with them. And he and one of his troops, Felisa, did a phenomenal job over there of just trying to break through, the stereotypes. Like Tim would surprise people all the time because he's this, 6 foot plus giant white dude that was over there, and he would dress in their clothing and he would bust out in, really good language for them. And they were like, who is this American that understands how to speak Dari? Like,
right.
How does that happen? And so he would put them off guard a little bit, but it was kind of a great thing to happen. So anyways, short story. As part of that program, in his time over there, he experienced a lot of trauma. And Felisa also, while they were there, Felisa actually suffered a stroke. She was about 30 years old, marathon runner, incredibly brilliant, fluent in Dari as well. She was writing poetry and working with the women of Afghanistan to encourage them to write poetry. And, together they were working anti-corruption. She suffers a stroke. At the time they were over there as contractors, he had retired from the military at that point. And so getting her connected with the right resources, getting her out of there, first of all, and back to Tucson was on its own a huge endeavor. And then jumping through all the hoops that they had to jump through to make sure that she was cared for and able to kind of put the pieces of her life back together was hugely traumatic. In all honesty, that was not the biggest trauma that he suffered while he was over there. There were several things. The year 2015 was horrendous.
A lot of our service members that were over there had all kinds of traumatic experiences. Right. And then they bring that home to their spouses and their children, and it's a big issue.
Yeah.
Big issue.
It was really hard. And so Tim comes back from that. He ends up retiring in Sierra Vista, and he's working a civilian job on post with the Army. And
I was going to ask you about why Sierra Vista. So it's the job that brought him here?
No, actually, he came back and we could be here for
20 hours?
Yeah, easily. But he retired here because his family had a plan so his parents were living in California at the time, and his brother, and their plan was to actually all kind of end up out here in the Arizona area between Scottsdale, Phoenix area, Tucson. His parents are in Tucson now. And Tim found Sierra Vista, which I lived in Phoenix for 15 years and didn't know Sierra Vista existed until I started hanging out with Tim. And I was like, oh my God, this is like a slice of heaven down here. But anyways, so having gone through all of the trauma that he went through overseas, he came back, was suffering from PTSD, was suffering from depression. I met Tim. It's amazing, I think, our relationship, how we ended up together, because I met him when he was just at one of the lowest points possible. And he had all of these battles that he was trying to fight and overcome and work through. And, I think there was divine intervention involved. I saw Tim for the man that he is through all of that. And we ended up together. I just have so much respect for him and who he is. And he had, as part of that process, literally, I could probably write 5 novels about just the crap that was going on. It's just amazing to me still. However, he has come through all of that wonderfully. But I think part of the coming through it was this center. It was inspired because he joined up with Soldier's Best Friend, which is an Arizona-based nonprofit. They've got 5 locations in the state.
Okay.
they pair up rescue dogs with veterans suffering from
yes, I've heard
brain
of that.
injury
Yeah.
or like a traumatic brain injury or PTSD. And, for Soldier's Best Friend, it has to be combat related. But what they'll do then is, at no cost to the veteran, they'll pair you up with a dog that comes out of the pound, and they train veteran and dog together. Usually takes anywhere from 6 months to a year to get that dog certified as a service animal.
Oh, wow.
And so Tim went through that program. Sierra Vista was the only location that didn't have an indoor dog training center, though. And so Josie is the coonhound that was paired up with Tim. And Josie had been through 2 veterans prior to Tim. And Josie is the stubbornest coonhound you've ever met. She is just a handful. But she was right. She was good for Tim. She was actually a good match for Tim because of her stubbornness, probably. Right. But for the dog, it's a 3 strikes you're out kind of system. And so there's a little added pressure on Tim. But while he went through the class, they had these group of veterans that were training outdoors or the trainer's garage. But usually it was outdoors at Veterans Memorial Park.
Okay.
When I met Tim, his preference was to be indoors with the blinds drawn and the TV on, and he'd eat pizza. He'd have pizza delivered for dinner on like a regular basis. That was his routine. He did not feel comfortable. He would come when I would take him to the, grocery store to go pick up groceries. He would often bust out in a sweat in the store. It's the hypervigilance. He's always aware of what's going on 360 degrees around him. It's exhausting. It's nonstop. Right. And it's just hard. And so for me, that was very eye-opening as to some of the challenges that veterans have.
Well, what did he do then? He just kind of, I got to say, I love pizza, though. Oh, I could eat pizza morning, noon, and night. But how did this idea come about? So he's doing with the blind service animals, or not blind, I'm sorry, with the veteran service animals.
Yep.
And
so he was going to create, after watching veterans drop out of the program, he was going to create an indoor training center for Soldier's Best Friend. That was the initial idea. And so he and Leslie, the dog trainer, found this building available, and it's huge. It's 16,000 square feet.
It is huge.
Yeah. They started converting the back corner into an indoor dog training area where it was very protected and ideal, really, for some of these veterans with these challenges, because at the park they're dealing with all kinds of distractions, trying to get a dog fresh out of the pound to focus on you as the veteran while you're trying to train this dog in the middle of a park where there's other dogs and lizards and rabbits and smells and people and noises. That's really stressful for the veteran. So veterans were dropping out. Tim wanted to create an indoor dog training center. This building worked perfectly, but they only really needed like maybe an eighth of the building in the back corner. And so then he started realizing and meeting, Cochise County is full of veterans. We're just saturated with them. Yep. There are 20,000 plus veterans in Cochise County. There's 9,000 here in Sierra Vista alone. This area of Arizona, of the country, really is attractive to a lot of folks when they get out of the military, because there's a big, culture gap, I guess, when you are somebody that's been fighting overseas and seeing the worst of the worst, depressed, repressed, dangerous areas in the world. And then you come back to the United States where we've got it pretty good. Yes. And it's, coming out of the military where your life is structured for you, where there's respect shown to everybody that you meet, you're always saying, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. It's just a whole different world to then coming out where everybody's, quite frankly, really self-absorbed and not so aware of the world outside of our own bubbles these days. We're connected via gadgets, but if you asked them where Pakistan was on a map, I don't think that there's a whole lot of folks that could easily point to it without, So that's stressful for veterans. And Tim started to talk to veterans and to groups that were here. There's a lot of groups in Cochise County that are looking to help veterans because there's so many veterans here. Yeah. And a lot of those groups were based out of their houses.
And a lot of the groups I haven't even heard of. I'm still learning of new groups.
Yeah, well, and some of them have been created along the way, because what we're doing here at the center is we're listening to veterans and trying to figure out what are the needs that maybe there aren't resources for already. If there's resources for it, great. We're going to try and connect you to the resources and get you the help that you need. If there's not resources available, we are very open to helping to create those resources. We just need people that are interested to take the reins. We'll do what we can to help facilitate, help you figure out how to put a 501c3 or nonprofit organization together. We can definitely do that. So we basically, let me back step a second. All these organizations were working out of their kitchens a lot of times, and they were competing for limited resources because there's not a lot of resources in Cochise County. Monetary, financial resources. And so that was tough because there was no connection, there was no cohesion. These organizations, while maybe they knew who each other was, they'd maybe tell a veteran who called for help, hey, we can't help you, but call this guy. So sometimes it was like 20 calls before the veteran would get the actual help that they need, if they got that far. A lot of times veterans are like, I'm done, forget it.
Well, one thing with social media, and it's always, I don't like social media, but yet I love social media, depending on how you're using it. One thing I love about social media is in Sierra Vista, if you belong to Chit Chat Sierra Vista or Rants and Raves or any of those groups, because I posted a message, as they're a veterans group. Somebody said, no, why don't you start one? So that's how I got Cochise County Veterans Facebook group going. And I got with you guys a year ago, as a matter of fact. It's been 1 year.
Has it been a year already?
It has been a year.
Oh, awesome. Happy anniversary.
Has it been? It could be 2 years. No, it's been a year. But what I was going to say is that I met you guys. I came in, I started doing the bagels and brew. I was trying to get my group to come in.
Right.
And do the bagels and brew. And I had never heard of the Warrior Healing Center until social media. Oh, well, because you would be tagged, Tim would be tagged, Beth would be tagged. These people are working really hard for us veterans. And I got to tell you, I, for one, appreciate everything that you guys do here. How did you guys come up with the name Warrior Healing Center?
That actually was an odyssey in itself as well, to some degree. We started off, so our scope exploded when we decided, let's help these veteran organizations. Right. So originally it was going to be the House of Josie is what we were jokingly call this place, because that was what started the idea. We had this big building, lots of office space, realized the need for veteran organizations to have office space, decided, okay, here's the deal. We're going to donate office space and overhead costs to these organizations in return for them coming together to collaborate. And in doing that, we realized there was a huge synergy that was happening, right? Like, this was, believe it or not, this has not been done, to our knowledge at the time, anywhere else in the country. We had looked online, we had talked to a lot of people, what's out there? How come these organizations, if you work together as a team, you're going to be much stronger.
Exactly.
And offer a lot more resources that are needed for the veteran. And additionally, it makes it kind of a one-stop shop. So a veteran can come in through our doors and say, hey, I need this. Do you have this? And we can say, well, yeah, just down the hall. Or they can come in, like, for example, we have a veteran that was World War II era veteran that was serving. He was a Purple Heart recipient and was in for a meeting of the Military Order of the Purple Heart group, and then saw in the hallway the sign for Soldier's Best Friend and said, hey, do I qualify for that? Can I get a service dog? And wow. Sure enough, he's probably the only World War II era veteran that has trained his own service dog because of that. I mean, just the way that worked, we just felt, all right, this is a good thing. We are hitting a need here. There's a good synergy. These teams are now working together and collaborating, and we're making it easier on the veteran, which is hugely necessary. And so,
if you guys can't help him, you guys know where to get the help.
Exactly.
You can direct them where they need to go.
And that, too, we're working not just with the organizations inside the group, but, we are working really hard to try and be connected at the hip with DAV and VFW and some of the other organizations that already have a place to reside. They're locked into, their own buildings or whatever situations they have. But we're still trying to work very hand in glove with them so that we're working together to benefit the veteran. But that leading to the name, to answer your question, we were going to call ourselves, and for a while we did, the Veteran Synergy Center.
Okay.
Just because somebody came in one day and was like, there's just such a good synergy here. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome, right?
Right.
That name did not go over well. People didn't know what synergy was.
Yeah.
They were like, what? It doesn't sit. So we did a lot of discussion and a lot of fiddling around and trying to figure out what to do for a logo and what to do for a name. And so we settled eventually on the Warrior Healing Center. We feel like that really says what we're about here, because it's not just veteran service organizations. It's also other organizations that will help with healing.
And you help any veteran. They don't have to be combat related either, right? Because
that's
veterans, what I thought was a little with the Warrior Healing Center. I thought, oh, well, then you must have to be a combat vet or something. So
I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, it's open. So a lot of organizations, everybody pretty much requires your DD 214 to make sure that you're a veteran. And trust me, we've learned there's good reason for making sure that you have that documentation. But at the Warrior Healing Center, we don't, have the parameters. A lot of the organizations require that it's an honorable discharge. The Warrior Healing Center requires that you put on the uniform and you took the oath. And then we understand that, for example, Vietnam War, there were a lot of folks that were drafted into that war. There were a lot of draft dodgers that were totally forgiven by the president, right? You're totally not going to be held accountable if you dodged the draft, not a problem. Meanwhile, the folks that did what they were supposed to do and went overseas and maybe had some supervisory situations or fights or whatever, you would know better than I. I don't necessarily know what gets you kicked out of the military.
Well, attitude, not listening to orders. A lot of different things.
So there's a lot of things that could get you a less than honorable discharge.
Yep.
Should
Article
those
15,
people not be
like that,
taken care of?
No, they served.
Right. They served and often went above and beyond, did things that, a lot of people clearly didn't if they dodged the draft. And then there's all kinds of reasons. We don't know what the reasons are. There's all kinds of reasons, if there's an attitude or a personality conflict, whatever could have happened. I mean, the military is run by human beings. And so there are probably a lot of folks that maybe didn't get the discharge that maybe they truly deserve to get.
Well, they call us veterans. They don't call us dishonorably discharged veterans or honorably discharged veterans. They don't go into those specific categories. And I even noticed that active duty service members come through the door.
Yeah. So the thing about the discharge that you just hit on to is veteran suicide, right? 22 veterans are killing themselves every single day in this country.
I have my bracelet right here, 22 a day.
Yeah, so that's a problem. And guess what? We're not counting them whether or not they have an honorable discharge.
Right.
So our goal, what we look at is the bigger arc. Like we want to make sure that no veteran is going to commit suicide on our watch. And we want to start it at the ink blot system, right? In this area, on our street, in our neighborhood, in our city, we want to grow stronger and stronger so that the veterans here know that they have resources, know that they have a unit, a family here who cares and who will help. You're not alone. You are not alone. Come in through the doors here. You will find people that make you feel like you felt maybe when you were in the military, where you had that structure and you had that team. That's what we want to provide here. Now, when it comes to active duty, it's a little bit different. We don't want to be stepping on toes. We understand that in the military, there is a process, right? Like your team needs to first be aware of any issues that you're having. Your supervisors need to be aware and really chain of command. They've got resources that should be able to address the needs of active duty. However, we will hear you out. We will talk to you. We will try to get you taken care of through the right processes and channels. If for some reason that's not working, and for whatever reason the Warrior Healing Center is the only place that gives you what you need, then definitely come here. We'll talk to you and we'll try to make that work. But we do respect definitely the chain of command and that the military has its own processes that need to be followed first.
And you guys know the chain of command very well. Tim being a 25-year retired.
I'm learning.
So.
Tim definitely has it down. So
another thing I wanted to ask about really quick was you had mentioned your medical background, and I was wondering, how did that play into you getting involved in the Warrior Healing Center, and how? Well, I don't know what kind of medical degree you had. Could you share a little bit of that?
Sure. My background is as an RN. I'm a nurse.
Yay! Let's hear it for our nurses out there. I don't know how to do the sound effects thing, or I would do that. Well, I'll learn that some other time.
We'll teach you that later. So
thank you, nurses.
Definitely thank you, nurses. I have not been at the front line for years now, though. I switched from the bedside to the dark side of IT back in 2011. And I helped a hospital in Phoenix. I learned the IT side of things. I helped implement their electronic medical record system.
Okay.
And that, I loved doing that. I spent about 2 years learning how to do that with that hospital. And then I jumped over into the dark side of contractor. And so I spent several years working as a consultant and working throughout the country at different hospitals. So I spent some time in New Orleans and Seattle, Philadelphia, Rochester, Minnesota. I was all over the place. In San Francisco, I think, were the big projects that I had. And so I was doing that when I met Tim. As I said, that whole experience, I could probably write 5 novels about. There's so much that went on there. But while Tim and I were dating, he was going through all of his turmoil and challenges. And he bought this building. We were kind of at a split moment when he did this. So I wasn't aware immediately when he bought the building.
Well, and you know what? Who better to represent veterans than somebody like Tim that's been through it and has gone through it? He knows. I mean, you know?
Yeah.
So
he definitely has seen the best and the worst. And he just has a real understanding of people, because what he did, he worked the flight line for years and years and years. And then that was prior to his job at the Pentagon, and then prior to his time overseas.
Right.
But he, like I said, he has a good feel for people. He has a great ability, a big heart, a great ability to deal with veterans that come in when veterans are dealing with some of the most tragic experiences that they deal with. And don't get me wrong, the Warrior Healing Center here is not just here for those in crisis. We are here in general as a family. So we want the healthy veterans coming in as well. The idea is, and what has helped Tim so much, I think, in his healing is the give back. Like providing veterans with a purpose, providing them with the family unit, providing them with, hey, we can do good together. We can help a lot of folks that need help. And that's what's kind of worked out really well for that.
Do you remember? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Do you remember the old recruiting poster Uncle Sam wants you?
Yeah.
If you guys wouldn't get in trouble with it, you ought to do a parody thing off of that. Warrior Healing Center needs you.
Right? Definitely. So. We do. We need all the help in the world, because there's just so much. There's so much that can be done. I can't imagine, when I look back, we've been doing this for about 3 years now. When I look back and see how much we've done in so little time with all volunteers, because nobody's getting a paycheck here. This is, how do we make this work? It's very grassroots. It's very much listening to veterans and trying to be responsive to what the actual need is, not trying to figure out what to do and then blasting it out there, but it's in response to what we see the need as. And then, how did I get involved as a nurse? Well, I was still traveling and doing my job. So every week I'd fly out on Sunday nights and come back on Thursdays. And so some of the stuff I could do remotely. So I was doing the best I could up front early on. When Tim told me that, he wanted to do this as an indoor dog training center, I was like, okay, fine, that's not a big deal. When he told me, when we started talking about it expanding into a veteran center, I was like, you want to do what? Because that's huge. Like, that's knowing where he was at the time, with all the struggles, all the pressure. His job on base at the time was very overwhelming and exasperating. There was just a lot that they were biting off to do with that job. I was like, this is like a whole nother job, and it's creating a new business. So it's more than that. You're going to have to put 80 hours a week just into the center, I don't know how we're going to do this.
Right.
But things were in motion already, and it just became clear to me that this is the right thing to do. And so I worked with him while I was working my job as contractor for a while, and then things just got busy here, and I was needed to do more and more here, and I couldn't juggle the two anymore. So I actually retired from doing what I was doing and have put all of my time here at the Warrior Healing Center as well.
That is amazing. And I can attest to the fact that Kathy and Tim and Beth and numerous other people that come in and out of the building work very hard for veterans and their families, not just veterans. I don't work here. I just come in and volunteer when needed. And I've done the welfare call checks. What do you call them? RONA checks?
Yeah.
Which stands
RONA.
for?
Oh my gosh. Responsive Outreach Networking.
Something. Yeah.
Find it on Facebook.
But
it's spelled out.
It was a cute play on words.
Yep.
But what I was going to say is I have been asked to call numerous widows to check on them and see how they're doing. So the Warrior Healing Center isn't here just for veterans. They're also here for your families as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things we found early on was really important is, there's a lot of, and actually for Tim especially, there are a ton of resources available for the veteran in need.
Yes.
But the spouse is not so much. And the caregivers, there's some stuff, but it's not as much as it should be, because when you're dealing with a veteran, I mean, this is a lesson I've learned personally, right? Because I came into Tim's life after he was retired. He had just gotten divorced. He had just was dealing with job challenges and health challenges and mental health challenges and so many things. And then also dealing with trying to get his troop through the hurdles that she needed to get through.
Right.
It's a lot. And that definitely, I don't want to say it's taken its toll on our relationship, but it's been eye-opening, hugely eye-opening for me. Like, as a nurse, I went to nursing school at Arizona State University and did a clinical rotation through the VA in Phoenix.
Okay.
And I worked with veterans for that whole semester that, were struggling with substance abuse. And I, every week would sit down and talk with them and figure out, do my care plans for them and all that kind of stuff. But I came out of that experience thinking, all right, veterans are messed up. Sure. Like, understandably, right? I mean,
yes.
My dad served in Vietnam, never talked about it. That by itself, I think, tells you there's challenges there. The veterans that I met here in Sierra Vista, initially, some are doing great, and that's awesome. They've got good resources, good family support, good friends, whatever. But there's an awful lot that, even with those resources, still struggle, because the things that happen overseas, and it's not even just the ones overseas, it's the things that happen in the military, it's the things that happen from transitioning from the military to civilian life, all of the above. It is really challenging, and civilians don't, I had no idea. I just really my eyes were opened wide, and then being with Tim and watching what Tim has struggled with, it's been a huge learning curve for me, and it's challenging. Every day is challenging, and it's been good for us in a lot of ways. I think we are even tighter. We work well together as a team, and we're even tighter, having overcome a lot of the challenges, but we're still dealing with them on a daily basis and overcoming those challenges. And so it's hard. And for the caregivers, especially Beth, who works here, she is the spouse of a Purple Heart recipient who has been through the wrecker. I mean, life has been enormously challenging for her, and she's amazing. The Warrior Healing Center would not be here today
Her husband has a service dog too, right?
Yeah, yep, Nicholas.
Did he get his service dog through the program here?
Soldier's Best Friend, yep.
Really? Cool.
Yep.
That's great.
So, before the center existed, though. So
right.
He went through that same program without the indoor training facility. But yeah, so that's one of the things, we've all agreed on, and the board here at Warrior Healing Center agrees on, we need to make sure that we're taking care of the family as a unit, not just the veteran. I
got to say, though, when I hadn't heard, one of the things that, oh gosh, here we go. what I'm trying to ask or say is, thanks to the Warrior Healing Center, I didn't know a lot of these organizations were working out of here, like RWB. I didn't know what that stood for. I know what it stands for now, red, white, and blue. There's, what is the other one? The Coaches Serving Veterans?
Coaches Serving Veterans, yep.
Coaches Serving Veterans. I mean, there are just so many organizations and so many to list. I don't even know how to list them all. A couple things I wanted to ask you about in the notes here was the Leo Pimple Lifetime Service Award. It's going to be this Thursday. No.
A week from today.
A week from today. Oh, that's right. I'm not doing my show Friday. This is Thursday. 1 week from today at 11 o'clock. Is that going to be here?
Yeah. So
I forgot to ask that. And what is the Leo Pimple Lifetime Service Award? If you could fill us in on that.
Of course, I'd love to. Yeah. We are looking for a way to award a veteran who has delved in and committed himself to service. So Stu Carter is our awardee. It's not a surprise. He's well aware of it.
Yeah, Stu. I'm wearing my shirt.
So Stu Carter locally here has spent years now. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force when he retired, I believe, and has just done so many things, been involved in so many organizations. So he set up his own 501c3 nonprofit organization called Velo Vets Sierra Vista.
Yeah, right there on the shirt.
Which you're wearing.
Yep.
That organization does amazing things. I don't even know how many riders they have right now. I want to say somewhere around 30 or more, just locally. But he takes disabled veterans and gets them on bicycles. Yes. And they ride together locally on Wednesday mornings and Saturday mornings here in Sierra Vista. They'll be starting up again regularly June 5th this year. They've been on pause for COVID, unfortunately. Okay. But they do things. They'll get on their bikes and ride. They'll always stop at a local business for coffee and food and snacks and chit-chat.
Well, see, he got me to sign up.
Have you ridden with him yet?
Oh, no.
No?
No, I would be dangerous on a bicycle, let me tell you. But what he did for me, though, is sold me a stationary bike.
Awesome.
So I kind of do my bike riding at home on that. And no, Stu is good people, and he does a lot with that Velo Vets. I'm amazed at how the different people that they're riding. And I'm hoping to get Stu on camera one of these days, because I think Velo Vets has some
they have a lot of stuff
up.
going on. So in addition to the 2 rides weekly that they do with the vets locally, which is amazing for all kinds of purposes, but not the least of which is exercise and keeping people fit and healthy. He takes a group of those veterans to the RAGBRAI, which I don't know if people know what the RAGBRAI is. Probably not a lot.
I haven't, no.
It is the race across of Iowa.
Yes.
And so every summer in July,
that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, it's 460 plus miles, and it takes, I think, like a week. And these riders from all over the country ride their bikes across the state of Iowa. And so he takes disabled vets. So he pilots a tandem bicycle where we've got Rich on the back, who's his stoker, who helps speed the power. But Rich, I don't know, Rich, my heart goes out to you because I love Stu to death, but you're totally putting your life in his hands to drive you on the tandem and steer you out of trouble. But we know, I'm just teasing Stu. Stu is a fighter pilot. So, definitely. That is one very worthy organization that we are so proud to have in the building. But Stu also works with the Air Force Association. He's the state president for the Air Force Association here in Arizona. He has worked with the United Veterans Council. He's had leadership roles there where they're trying to do a lot of the joining together and collaboration of different organizations. He works with VICAP, who helps put together rides for veterans in need. So they help get folks driven to doctor's appointments, for example, or, whatever it is. There's a lot of folks out here that are geographically isolated and maybe don't have good transportation. So VICAP does a number of things for them. He has been instrumental in the Sky Island Tour, which is a bicycle ride, which supports NAMI. NAMI is another group in our building, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. So They are the beneficiary of the Sky Island tour, which Stu, for recent years, has been very, very instrumental in leading that. So there's just a number of things. The list goes on and on. We'll hear more about it. The award is honoring Leo Pimple, who was a sergeant major in the Army who passed away last summer, July 2020, I believe. And his wife, Claire Pimple, is on board with this. And it's just a way to acknowledge Leo Pimple was very involved also as a veteran in veteran affairs locally. And, he had his picture up in the Arizona Vets Hall of Fame over at the hospital. He served 26 years, I believe, in the Army. He served in Vietnam and just, like I said, was very involved in a lot of the organizations here, including United Veterans Council and AMVETS and several others here locally. So that's what that's all about.
Well, you don't salute enlisted, but I salute him for that because he did a lot in this community, and for his wife to, be able to help us out on this award. What was it now?
The Leo Pimple.
No, I'm sorry. What was the 1100? Is it going to be here? I got a little confused.
The event.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, that's okay.
I got a little confused. I'm sorry.
No problem. So we do Bagels and Brew. We're doing it monthly. We're going to try and look at maybe increasing the frequency. But the next Bagels and Brew that we offer is Thursday, May 6th. So next Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
And that is being sponsored by our local Elks Lodge here, Lodge number 2065.
Yes, huge thank you to the Elks Lodge for that. That is helping us tremendously to be able to put that on. It's hot coffee and warm eats that are created here locally by some of the volunteers at the center here. And so that's a great chance for veterans to come out and network, veterans and veteran family members, volunteers, anybody that wants to see the center. Those Thursday mornings are usually pretty busy over here, and it seems to be a good event. But following that event at 1100 hours, the plan is to have that award ceremony for Stu Carter.
Well, that would be great. I will be there for sure.
Good.
So, also I wanted to ask you about on Sunday, May 2nd, Bikers for Boots, American Legion Post 24 out of Tombstone.
Yeah, so that's happening. I think it starts Friday through Sunday.
Is it Friday? Oh, you know what? You're right.
So there's a lot of events.
I even have my reading glasses on and I still messed up.
No, that's okay. We didn't talk about that one.
Friday through Sunday.
There's a lot of events tied to that people should definitely check out. So it's the American Legion in Tombstone.
Yes.
That is hosting that.
Post 24.
Yep. And the American Legion Riders, and they're doing like a poker run on Saturday. Like Saturday's the big event day. Friday, I think they've got maybe a beanbag cornhole tournament and some meet and greet type stuff that evening, maybe a dinner that evening. And then on Saturday during the day, starting in the morning, I think it's 9 a.m., they send out everybody on a poker run, and it's a good day for motorcycle riding throughout the county with stops along the way. And then everybody comes back at the end of the day, and there's a raffle that goes on. There's a silent raffle as well as a silent auction, as well as, the live auction stuff. There's live music that night. There's dinner that night. There's another cornhole tournament that day for prizes.
Wow.
There's just a lot tied to it. And then I think the following Sunday morning, they do a breakfast as well. So if you are interested and available, that is a big fundraiser for the American Legion. And we are really grateful here at the Warrior Healing Center because they're benefiting the Warrior Healing Center.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Also, what about the Marine Corps League Breakfast? That's on Mondays, it says here, from 0900 to 1000 hours at the Landmark Cafe.
Yep, that is a weekly event that I recently learned about. Stu Brock is the commandant of the Marine Corps League that has an office here in the building too. And he was in talking the other day about that. So if you are tied to the Marines and looking to hang out and meet other Marines or hobnob with them, a good way to do that is by joining them for breakfast on Monday mornings at the Landmark.
All right, that is great. Also, I wanted to touch on the Warrior Pantry that you have here.
Yep. So there used to be a pantry on base that had to close a year and a half ago or so, and they asked us at the center here if we'd be okay taking that over. And so we took on that opportunity. We have a warrior pantry here, which anytime we have events, we always kind of include on the bottom of the flyer, hey, warrior pantry donations are accepted. So we take both non-perishable, mostly non-perishable right now because we're pretty stacked. We've got some freezer space for perishable items. The freezers at the moment are pretty full, but we are working on making sure that we get those resources out to families in need. And with COVID, we have found especially there's a much higher need for that. So we have a lot of veteran families that benefit from the warrior pantry that is run here.
That is outstanding. And the last thing I wanted to touch on here is the Hero Paws Service Animal Support Group.
Yeah,
so it says here on Tuesday, May 4th, from 18 to 1900 hours.
Yeah, so the first Tuesday of the month, Leslie, who I mentioned earlier, she was previously the trainer for Soldier's Best Friend.
Right.
So Soldier's Best Friend still works out of this building as well, but they come down like usually 1 or 2 days a week. She's based out of Tucson, the trainer now that is handling Soldier's Best Friend.
Okay.
And Leslie has just started an organization called Hero Paws. And they are trying to kind of fill the gaps left by Soldier's Best Friend. So I mentioned earlier, Soldier's Best Friend will pair you up with a dog and cover the expenses, but they've got those qualifiers. You have to have the right kind of injury. It has to be a brain injury or PTSD, and it has to be tied to combat service.
Okay.
For folks that don't fall into that net, and she's kind of broadened it for first responders, so it's not just veterans.
Oh, wow.
But for, fire, police, EMTs, folks that experience PTSD because of those types of services, and then as well as veterans who maybe don't have, the right fit for Soldier's Best Friend. Leslie will work with you through Hero Paws, and she'll work to train dogs also for service dog status.
I have to say the three biggest things that I've noticed that the Warrior Healing Center seems to be very helpful with is prevention of veteran suicide. And then we have, now it just went blank, homeless veterans.
Right.
And, tell us about for the veteran suicide, the 22 a day real quick. I forgot to ask about that.
Yeah. So, in response to veterans, one of the biggest challenges is getting veterans trust. Quite honestly, if you look at a veteran, a typical veteran, they have been through the ringer, and things are just challenging a lot of times to get even the benefits that are due to them. They have to jump through several hoops to be linked up with those benefits or to qualify for those benefits. You have to have the right paperwork done. You have to talk to the right people between certain hours, and it's a headache a lot of times. It's just a big challenge. And one of the things is that, veterans are not real keen on government programs and government money. A lot of veterans, while the VA, I think, has its place and does a great job for what it is, I don't think that the VA does what veterans expect the VA to do. And there may be some unfair expectations there, However, in listening to the veterans and wanting to build the trust with them, WHC does not take any money for programs for veterans, anything that's federal government money.
Correct.
Because we don't want to have the strings attached. So we are totally privately run. Our goal is to be community supported. I especially feel as somebody that has been a civilian and grown up, and just one of my biggest passions is civilians don't necessarily understand, and maybe it's different in this town, but they don't necessarily understand the realities of the challenges that our veterans deal with on a daily basis. And so I want to help spread that and inform folks of that. But financially supporting this organization, we use grants. I've learned the crash course in how to write for grants, which has been time-consuming and painstaking, but
you get the job
good,
done.
Educational. And we've been fortunate in some of the grants. We've got some very generous folks around for sure. Private donations we take, and then the end goal really is we want to be community supported. And if we can get folks to sign up for the 22 to end 22 program, which is we're asking $22 a month to end 22 veteran suicides a day. And we break that down and say, all right, it may be Starbucks type coffee, but if you can buy a cup of coffee a week for a veteran,
right,
we can help end the suicide problem. So if you're willing to contribute that much, what that does, that money comes into the Warrior Healing Center and it covers, like I said, we donate the overhead cost to all these organizations. And the goal is so that those organizations can keep the money close to where it needs to be spent, which is the veteran. We've got local veterans. All the donations that come in are spent locally. They stay in Cochise County. We are working with direct veteran support. We are also spending money on, the building and the overhead costs so that these programs and these organizations can continue to survive. So 22 to N22, the idea is that this becomes a community-owned veteran center. It is the community caring for the veterans because we've learned we can't rely on the government to take care of the veteran problems. I mean, that's why we have a veteran suicide problem. It is, and Tim likes to say it's a war. I mean, the fight is real. If we're losing 22 veterans a day, if you do, I mean, even just doing the math with the VA's recent numbers, I think the latest are from 2017, and it shows in the last decade, we have lost over 60,000 veterans to suicide. And that's the VA numbers, which don't count. They don't count because they don't know.
Right.
They're very strict about what they count as a veteran suicide. So there's a lot that doesn't even get counted for that. But over 60,000 veteran suicides in the last decade, that's more deaths than was caused by the Vietnam conflict, which was, by the way, we were involved in that for over 20 years. So Tim likes to put it as this is a war. It is. Locally, within our country, we have a problem and we need to identify it. We need to talk about it. We need veterans to know that it's okay. If you are feeling any of those feelings, if you're feeling thinking suicidal ideation, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling like you can't hang on anymore, if you are lacking hope, it is okay to reach out. We need you to reach out because you are under attack. And it is a very real attack.
And they're here to help you.
Yep, we are here to help. So give us a call, find us online, find us on the phone. A lot of veterans also don't have social media. That's one of our challenges is trying to figure out how to get the word out us outside of, YouTube and Facebook. But
PTSD was a third one that I couldn't think of. So it's homeless vets, the veteran suicide, which I think PTSD and veteran suicide kind of go hand in hand, but that's still big issues that you guys are dealing with. And I commend you for getting out in front of this and trying to help everybody out there. It's great work. You're doing God's work.
Well, truly. I mean, I honestly feel like there's the reason we're here doing what we're doing, because there's been several times where I've looked at Tim and said, I don't know how we're going to make this work. I don't know how we're going to pay the mortgage next month. What are we going to do? And then I kid you not, it's a matter of days and the answer seems to walk right on through the front door. So my faith has been hugely restored in both my relationship with Tim and doing what we're doing here at the center. It is beyond a doubt. This is not us. We're just open to the opportunity. We are open to doing the good work and we are just trying to make it happen. We're just trying to be responsive to the need. And really it's the community that makes this happen by helping to fund this and helping to take care of the veterans. I mean, I feel as a civilian, it is the least we can do to buy a cup of coffee a week for a veteran, knowing what the veteran has sacrificed for the liberties that we take for granted. I mean, literally, we're having arguments in this country about what color a Starbucks cup should be at Christmas time. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the things that we're spending energy and time debating or fighting about. And then you look at somebody who's been to war and Tim half the time, like yesterday I was like, are you really going to wear that? I mean, I don't harp on him too much, but I'm like, he's like, dude, I've been to war. I don't care. And I'm like, well, okay, let's change your shirt, Tim. So yeah, it's just a very different experience. And I just feel very passionately, very strongly as a civilian, it's the least we can do is to help
Yep.
take care of those who have fought for our liberties.
And as a veteran, and if you're watching this, I would just like to ask, please, if you feel that you can contribute this $22 a day, or $22 a day would be amazing.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, no, $22 a month.
$22 a
Cup
month
of coffee a week.
to save veteran suicide, to help with veteran suicide. Please contact the Warrior Healing Center. And could you give us that contact information? Do you have it? Or
You bet.
if
You
not, I
bet.
can
So
look
it's
it up.
well, nope. The phone number's at the bottom of the screen, as is our address. It's scrolling across.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then you can, if you can find us on Facebook, that's great. That's the best source of information that's up to date. We have control over that. We do have a website. We are trying to find a way to get better control over that. It's still in the works, so the links don't all work, and there's some misspellings and stuff. But that's
Do you need a webmaster out there, maybe?
maybe yeah. warriorhealingcenter.com is the website.
Okay.
Our emails, you can reach us at vets@warriorhealingcenter.org. You can reach us by Facebook messaging us. You can reach us through the phone number that you're seeing.
There are many different ways to reach out.
Yeah, and it's not just if you can contribute $22 a month, awesome. If you can contribute $5 a month, awesome. All of that helps. If you can't contribute financially, if you're bored, if you're looking for something to do, we have so many projects and so many ideas. We're a little bit slow sometimes at responding, and I apologize for that, but literally there's like 4 of us that work here pretty much full-time volunteers, and we're juggling a lot. We love it when veterans, or not even just veterans, volunteers, anybody that wants to volunteer comes in with an idea. If it's something, we will help do what we can to support you and give you structure, give you office space, give you whatever it is that you need. Help getting the word out, help all kinds of different ways that we can help. But we need people that come in that can take charge, take the reins of something and go with it. That is the best situation. But we also have needs if you are somebody that just kind of wants to be told, what we need and come in and do something for us. We always need help staffing.
Like helping out with your garden?
Staffing the front desk, helping with the garden, cleaning stuff. But we have reorganization projects that need to happen that we're going to need help for. Beth is always looking for veterans that can help go pick things up or lift or move things. We've got requests for furniture sometimes, when veterans are moving or we're getting, veterans placed into long-term housing solutions.
Yep.
The spectrum is huge. So if you're interested, we can use the help. We would love to have the help. We would love to have veterans come in and be the ones that are taking on volunteer roles because, again, it helps give the energy here that we need here, and it helps everybody.
I would like to say kudos and a shout out to the Girl Scout troop that did do that garden. I don't know the troop number. I know Kathy does, but they did an amazing job building that garden back there.
They were a junior Girl Scout group. I think I'm going to mess it up if I say it. I think it's 104. But they are earning their Bronze Star Award, which is the highest award that they qualify for as a junior Girl Scout troop. And they put in 4 raised garden beds in our backyard, which has been awesome. So now we're growing vegetables and herbs back there, which support the pantry. And it was the beginning. So Mary did a phenomenal job helping us clean out the backyard back there. So the backyard is asphalt. It is a fenced and gated area back there, but it's a pretty big area. And so we've gotten most of the paraphernalia, riffraff, trash stuff taken to the dump finally and out of there. We've got a couple of storage sheds I'd like to kind of reposition, and we want to throw some picnic tables back there and some shade and make it kind of an inviting place for veterans to hang out.
Well, I think that was a brilliant idea, putting the raised garden beds back there because, like you said, it's all asphalt back there.
Yeah, and it really changes the environment a little bit. So we want to keep building on what the Girl Scouts started for us. Yeah.
And didn't you say something about they're going to be painting? Is that coming up, or did that already happen and I missed the boat on that?
No, it was supposed to happen last weekend. There was a scheduling conflict that came up for a few folks at the last minute, so we are rescheduling it. Date to be determined yet, but it'll be at least 2 sessions because they're going to actually paint the cinder block because right now it's just gray cinder block and it's kind of blah to look at. So we're going to have a team that paints kind of a solid canvas. They're going to throw some, I think it's called Kills stuff, first coat down there so that it prevents problems with mold or
Okay.
I don't know, anything from growing there that shouldn't be growing there. And then that'll create a base. And then we're going to invite Girl Scouts back, and we're going to get help ideally from the art gallery who happens to be across the street, and have them do some fun paintings and decorate it for us. So if you're interested in that too, let me know. We can get you hooked into that.
And before I sign off here, I wanted to ask you one last question. Are your doors open? Can veterans come in right now? Is it appointment only?
So doors are open. We never closed for COVID, but we did a lot of work remotely, and we didn't have walk-ins available for a while. And so that was kind of a bummer. It kind of halted a momentum that had been growing prior to COVID. I think we're back to that momentum again now, which is awesome. We have folks at the front door daily, pretty much Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. But if you ever come in and the doors are not open, there's a phone number posted out there. Feel free to call that to get in touch with us. Feel free to call the number that's scrolling at the bottom of the screen as well. That will get you to an answering service, and we'll get that via email and respond to that as quickly as we can. But yeah, we are open. We are open for walk-ins. We are trying to be careful, obviously, about COVID. We don't want disease to be spread at the Warrior Healing Center by any means. So we've still kind of paused, and we're a little hesitant about some of the activities. Our Bagels and Brew is now an outside event instead of an indoor event.
But it's nice out. I mean, beautiful weather. Why not?
It has been. It has been. We'll have to maybe reassess a little bit as summer months roll around. But yeah, it's been a raging success so far. So don't miss it. Next Thursday, May 6th.
Well, I will be there. Hopefully you guys can be there too. Kathy, thank you for sitting down with me. I mean, my gosh, we went an hour, and I probably could have sat here and talked another 2 or 3 hours. There's
a ton of information definitely to share. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thanks for sitting down with me.
Of course.
Also, I wanted to, again, wish my granddaughter a happy birthday. Tomorrow's her birthday. That's why I'm in here doing my show today.
Happy birthday,
instead of tomorrow.
Kaylin, right?
So, Kaylin.
Yep, yeah, happy birthday, Kaylin.
And thanks for joining me. If you do want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me at my email. It's Mike, M-I-K-E, Zehr, Z-E-H-R, @msn.com. For any comments, suggestions, if you'd like to come on and be a guest and let me interview you, I'll try not to, as I do this more, I think it'll be a little bit more relaxing, but I still get the jitteries, so.
It'll get easier, I promise.
Yeah.
You'll do stupid things on camera and laugh about it. That's the way I do it these days. So.
Well, thanks again, Kathy. I appreciate it very much.
Of course. Thanks so much, and have a great day and a great weekend out there.
Have a good weekend, everybody. My next interview will be with Jeff Andrews, and I'll let you know when I'm going to be doing that. I was supposed to do it today, but because we ran so long, hopefully Jeff will be available for me next Friday.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Jeff.
Oh, no.
We'll get you rescheduled.
All right. Thanks again, everybody.